Hey guys, today we're talking about the Bulwark on the public test server for patch 7.0. Now, first of all, I just want to say this class is one of the strongest classes in the game currently. He pretty much struggles with zero content at the moment, especially if you take Invigorating Icon. But I really want to go over his prestige perks first, and then we'll get into the rest of the tree and some of his new weapon changes. But first of all, on first glance, this prestige perk tree is probably the best in the game, at least for synergy. And he has like 5 here that are very good. Like these 5 are excellent perks. The other 2, these could probably do with like a rework. And like when I say rework, I mean dead ass rework, because you're never going to take like something like Rally Point, where Chapter Banner additionally removes negative status effects while active. Like no one's taking this perk. Let's just be real. We'll show on this later, but just like, you know, first off the bat, fuck this perk. But number 1, Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of extremis levels or higher enemies restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. This is a goated perk. This is a perk you're always going to take. I mean, there's no question. Of these 3, like what you're picking, you're going to pick Resilience over this? I don't think so. And on the note of Resilience, Medicae stims restore 25% more health. This is not really a good perk on a class that's basically a walking stim. And like, why are you ever going to use stims on this guy? In fact, you get less stims if you take Invigorating Icon, because the higher your HP is in this game, the less likely you are to find a stim, especially in solo. So it's just a little silly to me that they would give this to the Invigorating Icon class. But they did say they're going to rework Invigorating Icon, but still, this guy has more HP and base, so healing more with the stim really doesn't matter that much, especially with all the damage reduction he has. So take Auxiliary Reload. You have limited ammunition on this class. You only have a secondary weapon, so it just says your primary ranged weapon gets ammo back when you need it the most. So like, you know, you kill one zone and throw up, you're completely out of ammo. Oh, what's that? You have a magazine back, so you can blast them again. So it's just really good. Always take this. Now, on the note of Overcharge, charge attack damage increases by 20%. This is also a really good perk, especially mainly with the Power Fist. Not so much on the Chain Sword, and not really at all on the Power Sword, because Power Sword doesn't really have a charge attack, as far as I know. Like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure nothing here counts as a charge attack. But the Power Fist, this does let you hit some breakpoints, where if you plant your banner down with Inspiration for 20% more damage, you can one-shot guys like Rubric Marines with the block Power Fist, or like the Artificer one. I don't know if you can do it with the balance. I don't think you can use this one against Warriors or the Rubric Marines, but maybe you can with the Rubric Marines. Like, if anyone's tried it out, let me know. But I know this one works for sure. It's on the whip guys. So the next thing I want to talk about here would be the Powerful Shot prestige perk. This is also just a goated perk. 20% more range damage. Range damage is good on a class that has limited ranged options, so it just means you're going to kill the zone throw-ups more easily, or just shoot the ranged guys more easily. Either way, you're pretty much always going to take this. And then that takes us to the 4th perk, or I should say 5th perk, Masterful Defense. Ability charge is restored by 1% for every blocked ranged attack. This is actually better than it looks, because it counts for every instance of range damage, or like each projectile. At least that's how it was treated when I was trying to test it out. That I was getting my banner recovery like in chunks from a devourer shooting into me, so I would probably take this a lot. This is really good with Invigorating Icon. If you had like a guy with Inner Fire on your team as well, you're pretty much just going to get endless heals, though Invigorating Icon is already so busted that you don't really need to get more than like 2 of these per game anyways, but still, this is just more banners, and more banners are always good. So if you have like Glorious Shield as well, very good. Now, Standard Bearer. After activating Chapter Banner, you become invulnerable for 2 seconds. This one pretty much guarantees that you're going to get your Invigorating Icon off, and you know, it can get you out of some dangerous situations if, like, for whatever reason you have like a million Spore Mines around you. But this is probably one of these slightly more of the 5 good ones, I should say. It is slightly more of a pass for me, because I'll probably just take these 4 for everything. But you know, if you're using a Power Sword, take this, because there's really no reason not to. And that's kind of like the issue I have with some of these prestige perk trees, is I wish there were more I guess slottable things for all builds, rather than just having ones that only work with, like, you can only use this if you have a charge attack. That's a little boring to me, but you know, what are you going to do? I don't really think they're ever going to change that in this game. And the last one was the one we talked about earlier, which is Rally Point. Chapter Banner additionally removes negative status effects while active. Yeah, this is just not very good. And especially when you compare it to like these 5, like, there's really no reason to take this one. Because like, how often are you ever dealing with status effects in this game? Pretty much never. Like, most people don't ever have to deal with this. Like, the only time I can really think of that status effects become a problem is if you're just walking into Bramblevine, or you whack a Sorcerer's Shield. And even then, it's not really hard to see what's going on. Maybe if they did like dot to you, it'd be a little different. But on that note, we're going to talk about the new pistol this guy got, which is the heavy bolt pistol. And this is the best sidearm in the game currently overall. Plasma pistol is better at a couple things. It does have higher gun strike damage, but like really, for the Bulwark especially, the main thing you want from your sidearm is the good old ammo capacity, and especially when you're using this perk, though this also works for plasma pistol. But the heavy bolt pistol is the best against zoanthropes, and I would still say it's overall best against chaos, though maybe you could probably make an argument that the plasma is better because it can stun some things like the Terminators. But when you're fighting Tyranids, and that's what most people use Bulwark against, to be honest, Tyranids are what most people fight in this game anyways, because, let's be real, they're more fun to fight, and you get to engage with more mechanics. But I would just take the heavy bolt pistol most of the time, especially against Tyranids. If you want to use plasma, go for it, but heavy bolt pistol, I just think it's the best sidearm in the game, and this is the one I would pick for like increased spawn runs. And then that takes us next to the good old Intimidating Aura perk. So I just want to talk about these perks a little bit here. Intimidating Aura did get hit with a nerf that it no longer works on the bosses, but that doesn't really matter that much because you still body bosses in this game, because if you plant your banner down with Purity of Purpose and you have this perk, you just whack on them and they can't do a whole lot of damage to you, because as long as you have armor active in this game against something like a Carnifex, they can't really do any health damage to you. And even if they do health damage to you, you have like Steel Within, you have Invigorating Icon, you take less damage with Glorious Shield. Doesn't really matter all that much. But Intimidating Aura is probably one of the best perks in the entire game. It is actually better than your signature perk, which is Defensive Mastery, that instantly incapacitates Majoris or Extremis level enemies. It is kind of funny to me. There seems to be this ongoing theme in this game that they just have this one perk, this one signature perk that just sucks ass compared to the other two in the tree. Like Sniper, well, Sniper's just sitting here with like one of the best perks in the entire game, but you get like a Melt-A-Bomb every 30 seconds, and then he has two other ones that are like left in the dust. So he's kind of a bad example, but for things like, let's say Assault, this is a good perk. This one's only good because this should be a passive. You know, I have a whole video on this, but I'll say it right here. This should be passive because you're never using your jump pack dash without this signature perk. Because, like, why would you? You're going to lose a ground pound every time. That's awful if you don't have this perk. But this one's pretty good, and this one is pretty much never used by anyone anymore. So, just seems to be a little bit of an odd theme here. But on the note of Intimidating Aura, this perk, unironically, I think you could drop the Bulwark into like 10 lictors in a dusty pit, have him plant a banner down, and spam his parry button with a fencing weapon, like the fencing power sword, and he'll just kill all of them with like mid diff at most. To be honest, probably low diff, because this perk is just incredible. This thing just deletes melee Majoris and pretty much any Majoris that is foolish enough to attack you off the face of the planet. And it's OP. And like these other two perks almost don't exist unless you're using like a block weapon. Because you should take this if you're taking like a block weapon, because this isn't doing anything for you. And this perk is like bugged as far as I know. It doesn't even function. Now, on for the other core perks here, we have Scramble Targeting. The only reason I take this one is because I'm not taking Shock and Awe when I have Armored Advance, because, you know, we are using emergency countermeasure, and this Purity of Purpose already operates like a shock grenade on your banner anyways, so I just don't think this is all that useful for like the occasional shock grenades you find in the game. Maybe if you had like equipment recharge, or if you're using emergency countermeasure, you just take that, but for the most part, you're going to be taking Armored Advance because knockback resist is OP in this game. So that leaves us with Scramble Targeting, because, you know, this Armor of Contempt perk, when you block a ranged attack, enemies within a 10-meter radius take the damage instead. This one needs a buff. It's actually so hilariously bad that it almost looks like it does no damage at times unless you see the Minoris guys die around you. So that's the only reason I don't use this one. And Scramble Targeting, if you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 25% less damage from ranged attacks. This one is not as good as it sounds. It's better than nothing, but 25% less damage is quite a bit. But while you're in melee in this game, ranged enemies are more likely to miss you anyways, so it's kind of like, you know, a win more option. But, you know, I just take it because it's the best of this tree, in my opinion. And then right here we have Defensive Advantage, a perfect time parry block. It creates a shock area for 5 seconds, cooldown is 30 seconds. I think this one is actually pretty good. It would be better if these two weren't so good at keeping you alive. This one is just kind of gimmicky, and you could take this with, like, you know, the Shock and Awe, Defensive Advantage, and Emergency Countermeasure, and be like the shockiest boy to ever shock people on Terra. Well, I guess we're not on Terra, but you get what I'm saying. So that is an option, but if you're trying to go like metagaming, take one of these two. That takes us to the team perks here. Focus Restoration. This perk doesn't exist. It's trash. I mean, like, just read it yourself and you'll know why. Advanced Conditioning. Contested health fades 50% more slowly for all squad members. This is one of the best perks in the entire game. This perk is actually so goddamn good. It is shocking. There's pretty much no reason to ever not take this perk. And these other two need to be buffed so hard to ever even approach, like, halfway to where this perk is at currently. So that takes us to Effective Formation. All squad members take 20% less health damage from Extremis and Terminus level enemies. Like Saber Interactive, do you genuinely think that this perk is even remotely close to, like, I don't know, even this perk, Steel Within, for you? Like, who is dying that fast? Like, none of the Extremis enemies one-shot you in this game anyways, so if they hit you and you're taking 20% less damage from, like, a Lictor or something, unless you're already super low, this isn't going to do shit for you. You're still going to lose, like, 90% of your bar. It's just not a very good perk. And you're always going to take Advanced Conditioning, so these two need a buff. Big time. This is probably one of the worst team perks in the entire game. But on the note here, for the gear perks, we have Purity of Purpose. The banner deals damage over time to enemies within its area of effect. This is just a walking shock grenade on your banner. This is actually so deceptively good that every time you plant your banner, you'll be shocked at how many Minoros enemies just, like, topple over on your banner. It is amazing. This is such a good perk. I would always take this. Especially when we take things like rapid regeneration into account. The banner restores armor 300% faster, but its duration is reduced to 10 seconds. Having a reduced duration on your banner is never good, pretty much. And having any armor at all in this game will make it so you don't have to take any damage from, like, a Lictor hit or a Ravener hit. So having your armor restore 300% faster just isn't worth all that much in this game. I feel like they could remove the negative, then it might actually be worth taking. But still, having damage over time is just better. But on the note of Focus Strength, Shield Bash knocks enemies back and makes them lose control for a longer period of time. This perk is also bad because Shield Bash is just hardly ever used in this game. Same thing with Concussive Force, and there's no way you are taking a Shield Bash perk over Glory's Shield, let alone Invigorating Icon. And then we have Rejuvenating Effect. When the banner is activated, it revives incapacitated squad members within its area of effect. This perk is pretty much a noob trap because it makes it so a player holds their banner to place it down after the person has died, when really you want to be placing your banner down to keep them alive. And right here, this gives you more damage. That's just a better effect in general with Inspiration. So I really would never take this perk. And then we have Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash, melee damage increases by 15%. You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This would be good if it functioned, but I'm pretty sure this one is bugged. Don't quote me on that, though. I know this one's bugged, but I've heard both the Shield Bash perks are bugged. So having this effect of, like, no knockback, that's really not that bad, and increased melee damage is also pretty good, and that lets you probably hit some breakpoints here with, like, something like a Block Power Fist. But that takes me to the end here with these signature perks, which I already talked about a little bit with the emergency countermeasure. When your armor is fully depleted, a reserve shock grenade automatically detonates at your position. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk is really good. I would take this with Shock and Awe. This one just says, you know, you get a shock grenade when you need it the most. That's a good perk. This one is just a worse intimidating aura, pretty much. A perfectly timed parry or block instantly incapacitates Majoris or Extremis level enemy. Cooldown is 90 seconds. You don't get to choose when you have to parry in this game, so I just never take this. And then Armored Advance. If you have armor remaining, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This is just a no knockback effect that you're getting all the time. If you have something like Armor Reinforcement, you have even more. And if you take something like Glory's Shield, you pretty much never get knocked back at all while your banner's up. And, you know, that's already the case. Or that's already the case usually, but this one, you know, 20% longer. So those are my thoughts on the Bulwark. I really can't stress how powerful this class is right now, and how powerful its perks are for the prestige perks, because he just does everything he wants to do better than ever, and has, like, the only ranged weapon he was ever missing. Like, this is just, it filled out his class. He's just a goated class now. He can finish all content in the game easily, and I'm kind of curious to take him into, like, a true solo, increase spawns, just to see how much he can actually handle at some point, because Invigorating Icon alone is, like, such a busted perk that it lets you handle things in the base game right now that, like, you just punch above your weight class easily. Like, you can pretty much carry any team ever with Invigorating Icon. This perk is like having 20 stims extra per game, and the longer your game goes on and the different types of team comps you have with, like, cooldown reductions, you get even more than that. So this perk is just busted, and this one's getting reworked, and honestly it deserves it because this class is so good. He doesn't even need a perk like this. but this one lets him punch up to like 10 plus Extremis spawns when you know what you're doing. So I am curious to take that in a little bit once it's done here. But if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Have a good one. Bye.